So any, let's say I want to, this has, let's say for example, on the 30th of December, the price of this data tiler would be, let's say, 300 rupees, just to be, it's a random amount. So it's a 300 rupees, and when I check it for today on the May of the next year, then I get the amount as 500 rupees, but I want the amount to be 300 rupees. So what I would do as a hacker, I would go ahead and open the cached web page of 30th December by going ahead and searching it over here inside Google. And once I go ahead have that, I'll go ahead and buy that, and the website will not even come to know that I have actually faked it with the cached web page. I'll show you one more example of that. I'll just type, let's say, www.amazon.in, that is for India. So once I go and type this, I'll get all the cached web pages of this specific website, that's amazon.in. So if I go ahead and open this, these are all the cached web pages, and the amount would be quite different. Never put a space between a cache and the URL web address, because if you do that, then it would be quite different. So okay, yes, perfect. So this is what we need, because if you do that, as you can see that these are the prices. If I go ahead and enter a date over here, then it will give me the cached web page of that date. So let's say if the price for this for today is 1798, and tomorrow if it comes to, let's say, 2000 rupees, but I still want it for 1798, then I will, then after 10 to 15 days, I'll go ahead and open the web page of today's date by entering the date over here as well, and I will get the same amount, the same offer that was a few days ago. So after that, we have the link a query that list web pages that have links to a specified web page. You can go ahead and use the link query as well. So in this way, we have lots of other stuff such as note, link, related, example, and all in title. So these are just some small examples, and there should be no space between the specific word you are typing and the actual query. Only then you will be able to gather information about that. Let me show you one more example of that, so you will get a clear idea. I'll just type, let's say, I'll type in title, let's say, intranet, and I'll type in URL, I'll type intranet, plus I'll type in text, I'll type human resources, and I'll hit enter. And so these are the intranet for those companies, and normally we should not be able to access this, but maybe they have not used their firewall in a proper ways, and that is the reason why how I can go ahead and access these to their specific information. So the information gathered by the attackers can be used to perform social engineering attacks, and Google will filter for excessive use of advanced operators and drop the request with the help of intrusion prevention system. I think that they have a good firewall. That's the reason I am being banned over there. So let's go ahead and check this. Normally Google does not allow, but let's go ahead and check these web pages. If there are any faults, then if they don't have a good firewall, then we won't be able to access that. If they don't have one, then obviously they cannot go ahead and stop us. So here we are. So this thing is not allowed for us to see, or this is for the internet, but internet is always connected in some or the other way to a normal internet, and I should not be able to see these things, but since I have used this Google technique. So what Google does is that Google have two crawlers. One is a spider and another one is a crawler. So these two things, no matter what information you upload or what email you do, each and everything is stored inside Google. So once you have uploaded something on the internet, it will be there on Google and anyone can find it. It's just a matter of time that the person has to know how to go ahead and access this. So this is the normal page that which I should not be able to access, but I am able to access this because they don't have a good firewall in place. Even this one I should not be able to access this one as well, but since I am able to access, that means even these people don't have a good firewall in place, and that's why I'm able to access this. I'll show you one more stuff which is quite dangerous for normal people to go ahead and access this, but I will still show you the CVV colon, let's say I'll type in text colon CVV. So I'll just go ahead and open this website. So once I go and open this website, what I would be getting would be a list of all the card details of all the random person data. So if you have, even once if you have swiped your card on the internet to purchase anything, that means I will have that on this web page. So it is just an example. Let me check. Okay, I'll just go and download this. If I'm able, if I don't have any exceptions, then I'll surely go and show you. Okay, perfect. So, and when I go and you can see that we have these things, but these are expired. We have the username, the MD5 hash file for the password, which if you have a good cracker such as Burp Suit or John the Ripper that we have on Kali Linux, I'll just go and open it over here. I'll just go and update. I forgot to upgrade it. Okay, no, fine, I won't want to upgrade it as of now. I'll just close this. So we have several MD5 cracking tools over here. As you can see that we have hash tools for the MD5 hash files, we have online attacks, and we have John the Ripper hash identifier and hashcat. Even OPH crack is a very good one, rainbow cracking tool. So these are different things through which we can go and crack the MD5 file, and we have the email ID. So you can see how easily we can go ahead and crack this, and you can even see that this expired just 2 months back. So if I am a random black hat hacker, then I would probably check that which one is useful, and I will surely go ahead and use this for malicious purposes. Let me check if I have any active one. Feb, March, April. This expired last month. It's the American Express card, and even this expired last month. Okay, so I don't actually have any active one, and it's actually quite good that I don't have any active, let's say, any active card over here, because if one of you person watching this video is a malicious one, and probably use that for illegal purpose. But it's just a way as to how I can go and show you. If I just modify this with something different, such as if I go and insert a date to put inside that text file, let's say only for 2015, then I will get all the card numbers which expires in 2015. If I go and use 2016 or 17, 18, similarly I will get each and everything related to that. So I'll just go ahead and delete this so that no one else sees that. Perfect. So this is just an example as to how we can go ahead and gather information, and Google Hacking Database is quite useful in this thing. After that, we have the Gmap hacker and the honeypot option. So starting with MetaGoofle. MetaGoofle is an information gathering tool designed for extracting, let's say, metadata of public documents, that is from PDF, doc, or docx, pptx, xlsx file belonging to a target company. I probably won't suggest using MetaGoofle, even though it's quite famous. We have one more extractor which is quite useful in for today, and I'll just go ahead and show you that. I don't exactly remember the name, so I'll just ExifTool. Yeah, ExifTool, perfect. So ExifTool is quite useful in gathering information. Even if you have an image of a random person, you can go to this website and download this. So what it does is that, let's say if you have taken a normal pic from your camera, and let's say for example you have a Sony camera, Sony cell phone, and if you have an Android Lollipop, then you would probably go ahead and name your username. Let's say your name is Mr. Adam, so you'll probably go ahead and name it as Mr. Adam. So if you go ahead and do that and you click your picture and you send it to someone else, any random person who has that image can go ahead and gather the username from which cell phone you took the pic, just by using this metadata tool and applying it on executing this with your image. So it doesn't matter from where he got the image, from a website or from via USB traveling or via WhatsApp, people sending it over there. It's just a matter of time that he needs to have that image and this EXIF tool, and he can get all the information such as from where did you crack it. And I think that probably we have EXIF tool over here. Let me check if we have it already installed in Kali Linux. Perfect, we have it. So I'll just type -help. Let's check if we could get all the information. Okay, I would have to consult the documentation, but I will show you as to how we can go down. Let me just copy one of the files from over here from my computer, and let's say I'll just go ahead and copy it from over here, and I'll just try to paste it over here if I'm able to. Okay, perfect. What I'll do is I'll just go and type exif2/desktop I'll just go and type desktop slash, let's say we have, perfect, I'll hit enter. So as you can see that I have over here the course text file, how much byte, but it's just a simple text file. If I want to gather much more information, let me just see if I have any PDF documents over here. Okay, let me check. Okay, great, we have a PDF document. So I'll just go and paste it over here. Okay, I don't want this, I'll just paste it over here. Perfect. And I'll just go ahead and execute the exif tool. So I'll just type exif tool and I'll type desktop and I'll type desktop kernel. Perfect. I'll hit enter. And as you can see that I have all the information I want over here. I have the name, when it was modified or created, and it was on the 7th of March, April, at 2 o'clock at plus 5 what was the time. It's a PDF application, it was not linearized, and we have the creation date, which is 2013, and the website from where the guy downloaded it was it/ebooks, and it was, she downloaded this PDF file on this computer in 2013 from this website. This is an image file. As you can see that we have, from where did it create? He created this in Adobe InDesign CS6 in Windows, and this is quite a useful information. And yes, so these are quite the useful information that you can get just by exif tool. And if you know how to extract these tools in a proper way, in a much advanced way, then you can even get the username of that person who created it. So that's just quite an example as to how we can do that. Coming on to our next part would be the Golang scanner. So the Golang scanner removes the cache from your searches and collects and displays only vulnerable site links. Thus it allows you to find vulnerabilities wide open to Google and Google bots. We have SiteDigger, which searches Google's cache to look for vulnerabilities, errors, configuration issues. Google Hacks, as I told you, it's a compilation of carefully crafted Google searches that expose novel functionalities from Google search and map services. We have BileSuite, that stands for bidirectional link extractor, and it then applies a simple statistical weighing algorithm to deduce the websites that have the strongest relationship with the target site. Then we have Google Honeypot, which is the reaction to a new type of malicious web traffic actually, and it is a search engine for hackers. Google Hack Honeypot, and you can go and check it at ghh.sourceforge.net. And GHH implements the honeypot theory to provide additional security to your web presence. We have Gmap Catcher, Search Dignity, Google Hacking Database, as I showed you, and finally the GooScan. GooScan is a tool that automates queries against Google search appliances, and these queries are designed to find the potential vulnerabilities on your websites. So that would be it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll be starting with what exactly would we have to do after gathering information as to the Whois lookup, the DNS interrogation, and the Shodan search engine and the trace route.